I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. My neighbor and some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. Abenaba. Seafood mama. The 10 fat chickens. And I she for one. And she won't give me one. You see that garden? Named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she marble like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girls, second the boys. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm gonna sing and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Hold my house on fire. You'll not run away. He ran for the police to get the water, the only fire down there. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. And now wipes the lady face, the lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm really singing and the dancers really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children. Yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How me go get up? Climb on the chair. So what's it called? Peanut cake. Bad picnic. Peanut cake. Wicked picnic. Peanut cake. Oh, smallness is still on the mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really. Smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on their mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor, some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. Abenaba. Seafood mama. The 10 fat chickens. And I she for one. And she won't give me one. You see that garden? Named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she marble like a chow. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right, hey, guess what? Good evening. It's 7 minutes after 9 o'clock, and beautiful Guyana. If those of you who are in Guyana currently, and if you have blackout, and just borrow some light from your next door neighbor if they have a generator. That's how we should be living, because Guyana, I don't know what's happening with that place. Massive corruption all across the country. Massive corruption. You hear of these, what do you call it, contracts and all these different things. It's corruption, 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 corruption. Do not be fooled. And the paper that you should be checking out, the Village Voice. I hardly, and I'm going to say this here, I hardly see you guys sharing the Village Voice newspaper. It's online. You should be sharing it because it gives you the other side of the coin, so to speak. And you don't need to be inundated with the propaganda, the PPP propaganda on their propaganda websites. And just be careful. You don't have to share those propaganda websites, right? We know those websites. We know what they're about. Propaganda, 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 propaganda. That is what it's about. So go to these sort of, if it's not the Village Voice, you have Gordon Mosley. Well, Gordon Mosley is always, it's got to be balanced, if you know what I mean. But the real side of the coin, go to the Village Voice. Just rush to the Village Voice. As soon as you're off, if you can multitask, you just click on the Village Voice and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Well, good evening to all of you guys. We're going to rock and roll this evening. Let's start off with a good evening to Rhonda Lane. Why am I saying good evening to Rhonda Lane? Well, I'm saying good evening to all of you guys, right? But while you share the link, we have two guys going to be on this evening, J.R. Crawford and Mr. Wayne Caesar. We haven't, let's see here, connected with him as yet, but he should be in the studio shortly. Hopefully, we'll get Wayne Caesar as well. And so tonight is a Vox Populi, right? Call up the so-called Minister of Social Security and ask her the definition of Vox Populi. Or maybe Jennifer Daniels and others can let you guys know that. Anyways, good evening to all of you guys. My name is Mark Benchap. Now, why I want to talk about Rhonda Lane? Rhonda Lane is a nice person. She's about justice. She's about democracy. She puts her life on the line. She's out there. Good evening to all of you. Okay, good. Let's continue. Rhonda Lane, good evening. Why am I talking about Rhonda Lane? Rhonda Lane went out. She goes out there. Like I've said, she puts her life on the line. She is at almost every protest. She originally from Den Amstel. You see, she's saying good evening. Den Amstel is in the house. They charged her frivolous charges against her for some cybercrime crap. Cybercrime crap. And now this lady is at every protest, and she's not afraid to call her name. She's not afraid to say she's at a protest, or she's not afraid to say she's going to protest. Neither is she afraid to say where she lives. She goes live from where she lives. She's not bothered by these goons in the PPP regime. And that is why I like people like Rhonda Lane, brave people who are not afraid to show their identity, who are not afraid to stand up for what they believe in. But Rhonda Lane has to pay a fine of $500,000. Nobody has appealed her case. I'm not sure whether the lawyer appealed the case or not. I'm just not sure what's happening. But for those who are in the opposition, and I will ask the opposition leader when he comes tomorrow, because he did say that they have what is called a legal team to represent individuals. It is unfair that Rhonda Lane is not getting the sort of representation she should be getting. She went to a lawyer, opposition guy, always out there. Oh, doesn't have time right now. It's booked up, it's filled, all manner of things. I don't know what's happening in that country. Honestly, I don't know. But when you have soldiers on the ground and you have people going out there to put their lives on the line for you as a political party and put their lives on the line for people who, most of them, as we see there, members of parliament and so forth, parliamentarians, they're not bothered about these everyday events. They're not bothered about people. And don't get me wrong, there are a few of them who are out there and they're working and they're putting their lives on the line. And those few, we know who they are. We are watching them. But the lazy ones, we know who they are too. And the ones who have one foot on this side of the fence and one foot on that side of the fence and one hand on that side and another hand on this side and another hand patting and these, we know who they are. They are not proper representation of the people at all. They may call it good politicking. I don't know where the heck in the world that is called good politicking. They need to get out and do more. They have to stop with this so-called nice boy politics with the PPP. Now is not the time to say, oh, we're all friends and we should meet. Now is not the time for that. You guys know sometimes I love to show off and quote the scripture, right? Ecclesiastes 3 talks about there's a time and a season for everything. Now is not the time for kissing up to the PPP. Now is not the time to say, oh, I have friends in the PPP. We all have friends all over the place. That's a fact. Now is not the time to hug up and kiss up. And now is not the time for that. Now is not the time for handshakes and so forth and so on. It is not the time for that. It is not good politicking. And I don't care who says that that is diplomacy and it's all, and they're going to inject Burnham and Chetty. They were bitter enemies. They weren't enemies. They disagreed on issues. And Burnham and Jagan days are different from these days. We are dealing with hardcore corrupt individuals, hardcore racist. That is what we deal. Gangsters of today. You don't want to shake gangsters' hands. You don't want to say that the same gangsters' hands that you guys go out and shake and hug and kiss up and all manner of things are the ones who are oppressing your people, oppressing members of your constituency. And you call that good politicking? It is not good politicking. It has to stop. One way or the other, it has to stop. Rhonda Lane, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for what you do. And hopefully someone will step in, not to pay any $500,000 because it's ridiculous. Don't pay that money. I do hope that someone has already stepped in, a lawyer or someone has already stepped in to offer you pro bono work, because what you do every day is what 10 members of parliament don't do. But you do it. You alone represent 10 members of parliament in the opposition who are quiet, who are afraid to speak out, and who are more concerned about having friends in the PPP. Priya is their friend. What's his name? Irfan Ali is their friend. Jagdev is their friend, and all manner of things. And they're out to prove a world. It is not good politics. It is stupid politics. It is dotish politics. sad. These guys got to learn. These guys got to learn. And then when you confront them, they get all petty, they get all going the skin, and then they get all sensitive and they get all emotional and they cloak up and they find all manner of things to say that, oh, somebody is jealous of them, somebody's this of them, somebody, all sort of things, all manner of things. But they're not looking at the big picture. That is why the PPP feel comfortable. Members of the PPP feel comfortable when they roll through in certain communities because they know they don't have proper representation. They know they don't have strong representation in those communities. And they know that those who are supposed to be standing up and representing the people are rushing to glorify the oppressors, hugging the oppressors, having a nice conversation with the oppressors and shaking the oppressors' hands. It doesn't work like that. Now is not the time. Now is not the season for that. It is the very conversation I had with Rickford Burke when he shook the hands of Mark Phillips, rushed into the church, shook the hands of Mark. Oh, good politics. It is bad politics. Now, I'm not saying that people got to be enemies with the political opponents. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying, now is not the time for shake hands. Now is not the time for hugs. Now is not the time for kisses. Now is the time to hit the ground. Have your placards. So when people like Irfan Ali and his crew roll up into Linden, you don't hug and kiss them and welcome them. You find ways and means to chase them the hell out of town because they don't belong there, they don't represent the people, and they are illegal. Now, mind you, I'm not the only one who's saying that. This is what Jack Dale has said about them. And this is what these guys in the opposition have to return the favor to Jack Dale and the PPP.
Right across Guyana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
When they come to the communities, whether it is in Berbice or Essequibo and Linden or in South Georgetown or Agricola or in...
So you don't, Jack Dale saying chase them out and chase them out. Look, Linden, Region 10 is being oppressed. There's racism. There's all manner of things happening. And these people like Irfan Ali feel that they could roll up in Linden and everything is hunky-dory. I remember the same Lindeners protested against Granger, trying to chase Granger out. Oh, we don't want you there. We don't. But look at what is happening. They don't have a protest to chase these crooks out of town. They don't. What they do is they welcome them and hug them up and kiss them up and treat them. It's only left for this guy, what's his name, Figueroa, to put a mala wrong Kamla. Sorry, not Kamla, around Irfan's neck. Put a mala around Irfan's neck. Because if we're going to play this kind of soft boy politics and think that it's diplomacy, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the PPP. You know who wins? The PPP wins, not you guys who feel you could use diplomacy, and it doesn't work. I hope it registered to these guys. It doesn't work. Jermaine Figueroa should have had a goddamn placard with about 10 or maybe 100 folks there from Linden to chase these guys out of town. Don't let them feel comfortable. The minute you let them feel comfortable, they're going to roll all over you, Jermaine. Young man, they will roll all over you. It is called silly politics. It is not the time. It is not the season for that. Let us move on. Well, now there's another one our operator said. Look, here on the same day, Rastaman smiling, but I want Rastaman and all of them to know that you let Rastaman get caught with little weed. And just don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that because he's Rastaman, he smoke weed. Certainly not. You know what I mean? But you let Rastaman get caught with little weed if he smokes weed. You will see how quick the same Irfan Ali regime, illegal regime, going to dig a 3, 4, 5 years in him. You try, suck up to the oppressors them. Y'all keep sucking up to the oppressors them. I have Wayne Caesar, I have J.R. Crawford. They're going to be with me shortly. But before we get to them, let me remind you guys that tomorrow should be a big night right here on 107.1 FM. Should be a big night. Should be a big night. Guess why? Because the leader of the opposition is finally going to be on after a long time right here on 107.1 FM on Straight Up. Aubrey Compton Norton, the leader of the opposition, the leader of the PNCR. He is going to be here tomorrow night. So get your popcorn, get your soda, get your swung, get your beer, whatever you're going to get, because it's going to be interesting. It's going to be hot. That is what's going to happen. It's going to be hot because, look, it's going to be hot, not because of any disrespectful questions or whatever. It's going to be balanced, but I want to ask some questions to the leader of the opposition, because I know a lot of you have things on your minds as well. I would like for you guys to pose some questions. So it'll be interesting. All right. So Mr. Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition, is on with us tomorrow night. Let's move away from that before we get to our guest. This school in Linden, not the one in the red circle. It looks as though it's a school, but this is the plot of land that when the guys out in Linden were given a contract over probably $200 million, I don't know, it could be more. They all say, oh, there's a bunch of young brothers, black brothers, and this is what we're getting, and the PPP is doing good, and all manner of things they're saying. All manner of things they have said. But over 1 year now, oh man, is a little shock. Is all we could see evident of taxpayers' money is a little shock. Then they stop and then they start back. Then they stop and start back. What? Where is the money going? I wish I can have some of those guys on. Kashif, Shanghai. I wish I can have them on, especially from the company statement or whatever that company is called. I wish I could have them on so that we can find out what is going on. If I had gotten that contract to build a school, that school would have been up, plus I would have gotten some roads, plus I would have gotten some boats, plus I would have gotten some toll stations. Man, Crawford, we should get a contracting forum. Call it Benchop, Crawford, and Caesar. Not Caesar, the cop Caesar, because we're not hearing anything about that. Not this guy, not this cop Caesar at all. And while we're speaking of this cop Caesar, this cop, Dion Bascom, his life is still in danger. They're hunting him down. They want to kill him. And guess what? Irfan Ali doesn't give a damn about what's happening. He doesn't give a damn. It appears as though his protection is for his friend, Azardine Mohammed. That's all. That's who they want to protect, Azardine Mohammed. But we'll get back to that shortly. Lots of things we got to get back to. Not necessarily tonight, but before we get to our guest, hey, guess what? These guys are caught, 4 charged for possession, 65 pounds of marijuana. All them guys from Nick Village. I don't know, some of you might not be familiar with the villages on the quarantine. Nick Village is right after, where is it? Hampshire, between Hampshire and Belvedere. And then they also, Hampshire, Belvedere, Albion, and so forth. Okay, yeah, around that area. So these guys are caught, but I'm not to say, look, 65 pounds, that's a heck of a lot of pounds, but look at their ethnicity. Male East Indian. But when a person of African descent is caught committing any crime, allegations or whatever, that person is listed, his ethnicity or her ethnicity is listed as MN. MN means male Negro. Or FM, female Negro, not African, Negro. I hope that the opposition picks up on this sort of thing, because if other ethnic groups can be identified appropriately, then persons of African descent should be identified appropriately, not male Negro or female Negro. Give me a break. Now, hey, guess what? One more thing before we get our guest on. These guys in the PPP, they wrote to Twitter and Facebook, and they're complaining like little girls that, oh, please remove the map. please remove the map. And guess who wrote to them? Robert Passad, who they say that is the foreign secretary, Guyana's foreign secretary. They didn't ask the Guyana ambassador in Washington, the U.S., Sam Hines, to do the writing or whatever, but the foreign secretary did. I don't know what's going to happen, but not so long ago, it's the same Barra Jagdeo who asked that there be some negotiation to allow Venezuela to use piece of Guyana. Now Venezuela is showing a map with a big piece of Guyana. These folks are complaining like little. Good evening again. Let's get ready to welcome our guest on. I was just going to say something else. They're behaving like little. Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Good evening. So far, so good.
Yeah, Mr. Caesar, how are you, sir? Good evening.
Good evening, Mark.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being on this evening. We got to rock and roll. Mr. Crawford looks as though he's up. He's white up. He's ready to go. And but before we get into that, one other thing I wanted to bring to you guys' attention as it pertains to the Linden Highway. The Linden Highway. Look at what's happening here now. I want you guys to take a look. Pay careful attention to what is happening here now. The Islamic Bank. Now, interesting, right? The Islamic Bank clears US $120 million loan for Guyana to upgrade Linden Highway. Watch where that money is going to. They claim that it's being done via the Ministry of Works, that they are going to undertake to do that. Over $1 billion plus on this here. 120 million from the Islamic Bank. So they're running from the IDB, they're running from the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, all these other banks they're running to. So they gone till now to the Islamic Bank. Watch who is going to get some of that contract. The ministry is going to subcontract. But the reason why I have this with the red markings here is this road was destroyed by Barra Jagdeo. And now some of you might ask, oh, really? How Barra Jagdeo could destroy this road? Now, hear me out for a quick 30 seconds. He destroyed this road through the wasting of hundreds of millions of dollars through what is called the fiber optic cable. The fiber optic cable was being run supposedly from Brazil, run through Linden, run through the highway, and they dug up all that side, that side that you're seeing. They dug it up, and that is when the road start to decay, start to destroy, start to damage. Every single thing happened as a result of the recklessness of Barra Jagdeo and the racist PPP regime. But now they have the audacity to say to the general public that the Islamic Bank clears US $120 million. Islamic Bank, right? All right. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. Crawford, what is happening? Let us first take a bite at the school out in Linden. Nothing at all. Over 200 or close to $200 million. And look, all they get is a little foul pen. What's happening, sir? Talk to us.
Well, from my understanding, there are only a handful of workers there at this moment working on the project. Most of the people that were there that started the construction have been sent home until, further notice when
until money comes back. Until more money comes back.
Well, I guess they're going to drag the process out and, speed it up once there's a date for election.
Mr. Caesar, your take, sir, on that.
Well, Mark, I think looking at the structure that you just showed me there, and when the contract was awarded, we should have been, way further along with this project. There's, I think there's a few overcrowded schools in the area that is actually depending on the completion of this school. I think the government look at this as not an area of importance, because if it was, we would have seen more of an effort, to get this construction done. Also, I feel like if this is a good opportunity also for the government, to underhand money to the people that they really want to underhand money to, like Mark was just saying, They're just waiting for another set of money to come in, and then they're going to say that they're pouring it in for the completion of the construction. So we're going to pay for this school about 3, 4, 5, 6 times when it's all said and done.
Exactly, that's what's going to be doing more money for the boys. In other parts of the world, people are pulled in for fitness and they're charged. And if there's a level of corruption, then they will be dealt with. But this is no way to spend taxpayers' monies. And this is not to say that these are the only contractors who are like this. There are tons of other contractors around the country who are exactly the way these guys are operating. And this is really, really sad. So this exposes the PPP regime, that they knew that these guys can't do the damn job, but yet they give them about $200+ million as just a hustle money. And the guys use that as hustle money to do all manner of things. And recently they said they restarted the job, they restarted the work, and I'm still looking to see exactly what have they started, what have they restarted. There should be an investigation into this matter. Moving on to other matters, what is it that we can talk about? Let's talk about this before I ask you guys some other questions. Facebook, Twitter asked to remove posts with illegal maps. This is the same PPP regime under Jack Dave that said he was willing to share the Essequibo with Venezuela. He was willing to do that. He said it, look. And now he's saying all of it belongs to us. And then now they have written to Twitter and Facebook. The hypocrisy. Crawford?
Mark, there's a famous quote, out of thy own mouth comes thy own judgment. Back then, it was a ploy to pressure the coalition government. Now that they have been put into office there, the same words are coming back to haunt them. It's the same thing with, telling supporters to chase a duly elected government out of the areas. These remarks, see, many times we get too cocky and we make statements that we don't think ahead, if we were in that position. And many things that we're seeing that the PP are trying to cover now, came out from their own actions. And, this is something, it's something that you want to laugh at, but it's a serious thing where it comes to our sovereignty. But it just goes to show you, be careful what you say. It comes back to you down the road.
It's okay. We can laugh them because these are puppets. These puppets in the PPP regime, they can be laughed at. They're laughable. They're a bunch of jokers, a bunch of pacus. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they're about. And that's just what it is with them. So, Mr. Caesar, your take on this, please, sir.
Yeah, Mark, my feeling on this issue is that this is some type of a deal that's gone bad here. Again, what's going on at the border between Guyana and Venezuela is just flat out lawlessness. You have migrants that are just walking into Guyana undocumented. We don't know what vaccines they have, what vaccines they don't have, what diseases they might be carrying. We know nothing about them. If they've committed any crimes over in Venezuela, but our border is just wide open. There's no mechanism in place to control the migrants from just walking into the country. We go to Parliament, we have budgets that are made up in Parliament, but they never budget for no kind of border control, and we need that. The map that they have there, eventually that's going to be the correct map with the amount of migrants that we have that's coming over from Venezuela into Guyana. Eventually, we're going to lose Essequibo if it continues this way. All right. The PPP government is just flat out lawless, and they refuse to do anything about this. But we'll see on the voting lines if all these Venezuelans would be allowed to vote, because it should not be that way.
All right. The Venezuelans are already given their papers to vote, legalize them to vote. They're being told that they should vote for PPP, and that is why they're giving their documentations. A lot of them are given birth certificates, and that is why, if, for example, the opposition decided that they want to see the GCOMS list purged with about 10 or 15,000, the PPP already added 30, 40,000 Brazilians and Venezuelans and so forth and so on. They've already done that. They've secured themselves. And that is why the opposition needs to be vigilant. Ramjatan needs to come out from some social media platform and offering just talks on social media. They need to hit the ground. People are not seeing Ramjatan and the AFC guys them on the ground. Yes, they need to see more of the PNC folks on the ground and APNU and all these other small parties that form the coalition. Just after the elections, we saw another small party formed. We're not hearing anything about these people. Are they just paper parties, just there to sit down in air-conditioned offices and think that things are honky-dory? And when the people go out to protest, just a handful of them, that Rhonda Lane and the others are just out there putting their lives on the line for these people who just don't give a damn. Mr. Crawford, what's happening on the quarantine, man? Please talk to us. What's going on? How are the people feeling? Cost of living and so forth. Blackouts.
Well, I mean, cost of living is up there, but what I'm hearing is there is a split on the 40 hours a month job that is out there. Now there's a lot of complaints about cronyism and friendism, and the correct numbers are not actually on the force. And when you do a close analysis of it, you're seeing that this 40 hours a month work is counterproductive, and it's putting a tremendous strain on the folks that are paying the taxes. And a little bit more digging, you're seeing now it's affecting certain workforces because people are guaranteed to get this money, so they're not going to go out there and do the normal weekly work that used to be done. And this program that they have needs to stop. A lot of people are going to be annoyed, but it's creating what I must say a welfare state of mind.
If it stop you there for a moment, the program that you're talking about is the part-time job stuff that the PPP went into Borbis and giving out free money every month. You can't find these part-time workers, and they're giving their friends and cronies who own small businesses are sending large invoices to the regional chairman. Is that what you're talking about, sir?
Yeah, that's the program.
Thank you.
And this is where we are going to morph into a welfare state, thinking that the oil proceeds are going to save the country from anything else. It's not a good thing to do. If they wanted to help the nation, they should have done it across the board, agree with the opposition a particular number, and give all adults 18 and above once a year. We can set aside the proceeds from one of the wells for the citizens of Guyana to get their royalties. But when you start to play around with people's way of life, you're gonna change their behavior and their responsibility. And as we see the world is growing and going into a different direction, it's a dangerous curve that the PPP are playing with. Eventually, you're gonna have people not wanting to do it on a regular basis. They're gonna be happy with this Mickey Mouse kind of job. Now, mind you that it's going along ethnic and political support base. You're going to end up having a spike in crime because people who are not getting anything are going to start to observe who's been taken care of. And they're going to, we're going to have problems in our society. And it's going to come back to racial discrimination. It's going to be black and Indian crime and all this foolishness, all because the government of the day cannot be honest enough and take care of all of the Guyanese citizens as per the Constitution. this is a no-brainer. You don't need a law to tell you to take care of all the citizens of a country. Do the right thing. It's morally right. We as humans know right from wrong, but we are not seeing that attitude. And this is a dangerous road that we are heading down. And I don't think it's going to end well.
Dangerous road indeed. If you're now joining us, 40 minutes after 9 o'clock, J.R. Crawford is with us. Wayne Caesar, they're no stranger now. Wayne has joined the panel. He is one of our pro bono specialists here on 107.1 FM. So we do have specialists. Mr. Caesar, as you look into Guyana, you heard Mr. Crawford talked about the racism and other discriminations in Guyana. Of course, perpetuated by the installed PPP regime. How does that make you feel when you look at the sort of future for Guyana that is just not there under the PPP?
Mark, it's extremely troubling. When you look at what's going on with the PPP when it comes to racism, this of wealth, amongst so many other things. The PPP regime, I think, let me just put it this way. The government have forgotten that, Guyana was won on the blood of the Afro-Guyanese. Okay? And I'm not just saying that just Afro-Guyanese, but every Guyanese should be treated with dignity and respect, especially within their nation. Right? I feel like the PPP is a total disrespect to the people of Guyana. They have no respect for the people first and foremost. And you know what concerns me, Mark, is that there is one man. There is one man in control, man. There's one man, and I'm going to call his name. The corrupt Mr. Barra Jagdeo. One man. How could you allow one man to control you? How could you allow one man to dictate and control a country?
One individual.
Yes.
Yeah, continue.
Thank you for correcting me on that. Because I really give the
individual's name is Jagdeo. One man.
Yes.
Individual, but yeah.
Mark, the definition is just not for this show. This show is not.
That's okay. Go ahead. Continue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But one individual. How? The Guyanese people need to step up, man. You're not just fighting for your freedoms here and the right, to the wealth of your country. You're fighting for your children. You're fighting for your grandchildren. And you're fighting for future generations here. 300 man, 400 man, 1,000 persons protest is not gonna do anything.
What is your take on the amount of people you can count them on our both of our hands? The amount of people that go out whenever a protest is called.
Well, Mark, there's a lot of things that you can look at when that happened. And one of the things that I look at is lack of education. I don't mean lack of education, but education as to what's going on in the country, as to what we're protesting about. I feel like I know we call on the opposition a whole lot.
Mr. Caesar, people have been protesting for so many years now. I don't think there need to be any education as to why we're protesting. When you call a protest to have the people go out there and protest against GCOM, there's nothing there to educate the people about. The people know that there are lots and lots of skullduggery going on at GCOM. But when a protest is called, only about 10, 15, maybe 21 the most are out there. They're well aware, but there's something that's lacking, something that's preventing the people from going out and protest. But when you call a dance a big dance, you would see hundreds upon hundreds of people out there at a big dance. You don't need to educate them about a big dance. And if you don't need to educate them about a big dance, there is no need to educate them about why they need to go in front of the DPP to protest, or why they need to go in front of the court to protest when people are being persecuted almost every day. I don't think there's no education. There needs to be any education for that. But that's just my opinion, sir. Continue.
Mark, let's look at it this way. The people are not going to receive information that there's a protest on NCN.
No,
or
but they receive it. Lots of them are on social media. They receive it on this show. They receive it on Kadaki's show. They receive it on Duncan's show. They receive it on other shows. This is social media. They know about these things, Mr. Caesar.
Mark,
there's no excuse for them not being out there.
Mark, I agree with you, but you know, I feel like if sometimes the leaders need to come out. Like, for example, 107.1 FM, that should be the Honorable Aubrey Compton Norton. That should be his platform. Every opportunity he gets to be on this platform, he should take it. Because
let's go to Mr. Crawford. He will be on this show tomorrow evening. Let me just remind our folks that the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton, will be on this platform. This platform is for all of them in the opposition, all of them, but some of them run from it. Of course, Mr. Aubrey Norton is going to be on, so we can't say that he is running from being on this platform, but the others gone right into their shells. They feel more comfortable shaking the hands of the very people who are oppressing them. Mr. Crawford, take a bite at this. Your take on this sort of handshake, and some people have their opinions. Let's hear yours.
Mark, I am actually disturbed by it, but I'm not surprised. And when you see the neglect of the current administration towards 50% of the population, and when you're a representative of that 50% that is being left behind willfully, you somewhere along the line you have to draw the line. Even if it was my brother, I would draw the line, because I'm here by the people, for the people, not on my own. And you know, if he and Irfan are friends in public, with this discrimination that's going on, the hurt that half of the nation is feeling, it's an inappropriate thing to do. Some may argue and say, "Oh, well, you know, we're politicians." Yeah, but there is a line for it. Why would I, you know, be this cozying up to somebody who is not helping my people that have put me there to represent their interests? You know, it's not something that I am happy with, and I'm sure many right-thinking Guyanese would also feel the same way.
I feel the same way. I feel it's immature politicking. That's what it's about. Hopefully, this is the second time, so I'm not sure whether this individual is learning from his error. And nobody's saying that they can be friends. No, but now is not the time for this crap at all. Hopefully, German Figueroa will run away with this as constructive critique, and not any form of who jealous and
Mark,
and them little boys.
If I may,
go ahead. Yeah.
When we criticize our representatives, we should not be concerned if they're going to get angry or upset. That's their business. But you're working for us. You can be employed by somebody and you're doing your own thing against what we agreed to do. It doesn't work that way. And a lot of people who are elected to serve the people, for some strange reason, believe that they are bosses of the people. This honorable and sir and all these things, no. They work for the people. The real bosses, the real sirs are the poor people.
Somebody's saying here they wouldn't be surprised if he swings. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them swing. But I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing surprises me at all these days, right? So if he swing, he swing. But I agree,
Mark,
I agree with you, Mr. Crawford. But go ahead.
We may, as a people, be the first to use the polygraph machine to seek and select our representatives. When you look at this, we are seeing pendulum politics here. You know, it's back and forth. So you don't have the true representation of the people, and this is total disrespect to the ones who support you.
I would say this: these guys don't care about the people. It's more about the image. It's more about themselves. It's more about how they look. And you hit the nail on its head there. That the taxpayers are the ones, the supporters of the coalition. They're the ones who are paying for these people to represent their interests. So they're not in there to do what the hell they feel they want to do. They're there to do what the people have put them there to do. And if they can't do that, well, just either, like I noticed Farida saying, then that she wouldn't be surprised if he swings. God in heaven knows whether that's in the making or not. I don't know. But let's get back to MK Blair here. MK Blair is saying, I agree with Mr. Caesar. By the way, he didn't get to finish his statement. My apologies. Mr. Caesar, finish your statement, please, sir.
Mark, I actually wanna speak on this Jermaine Figueroa issue.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to go across the board with both the government and the opposition. All right. When you take an oath to serve the people and you take an oath of office, okay, it is my belief, it is my opinion that one needs to be independent in fact and appearance. Now, if you are a part of the government, I do not think that you should be allowed to operate a business. Okay, because if you're allowed to, your focus is going to be taken away. You're not going to be putting 100%, you understand me, into running the country. And when you look at Mr. Figueroa and Mr. Ali, these are all business people. Guyana is being run by business people. And that's a big part of the problem that we have here. Okay? Because the country is running in line with the businesses. It's not being run as a sovereign nation, as an independent entity. Okay? It's like mixing business with pleasure. And you're not serving the people if you're doing that. The people are not a part of your business. The people are a part of the country. Right? And you've taken that oath, and I further support Mr. Crawford in saying that, when we critique our MPs and our leaders, I personally don't care. Because when you take an oath, all right, you got to be open to constructive criticism. If you're not, then I'm sorry. Okay, your skin has to be thick, or don't get in the kitchen. I'm true, Mark.
Yep, thank you. That's what it is. If you're thin skin, don't get in the kitchen at all. Mr. Crawford, we want to move on to some other stuff. Adil Nandalal said the other day that the coalition, the ones who are basically, they have something to hide because they are against this Elections Commission of Inquiry. I find that interesting coming from Anil Nandalal, when in fact they're the ones who are running from an elections petition for obvious reasons. They are running from an elections petition because the elections petitions will expose the PPP as the riggers. Notice, guys or gentlemen, that the PPP and their supporters, they're no longer coming and asking for the coalition to show their what is it? They're no longer coming to ask for the coalition to show their SOPs. That's no longer an issue. The SOP stuff is no longer an issue for the PPP, because you know why? The SOP issue was basically a camouflage. It was fake. What is your take on what Anil said, that the coalition is running from something because they're against this so-called fake Elections Commission of Inquiry? Your take, sir. Crawford.
Mark, all of that is just balderdash, because if the PPP had really won the election, the petition should have been heard in 2020. So there would have been time for togetherness and moving the country forward. It is not the coalition who is timing the process of bringing the petition to the table. It's the PPP. If I'm all of that certain that I am truly clean of something, then why would I want to stop it from being heard. If the PPP or a group of people who concerned about Guyana's growth and direction, this petition would have been heard a long time ago, regardless of what the outcome is, and the country would have unite and move forward. We're just getting a break from the COVID. Our political business is a mess. Cost of living has shot up. Everything is going against us. We need to unite. And one of the ways to get this thing done is to get this petition out of the way. The citizens of the country would understand that their needs and security comes above everything else. And we will unite regardless of how we may feel with the decision. As long as this is on the table, we are not going to be a united nation. We are going to always be at each other's throat. And we're seeing that there is potential backlash for the way the current administration is operating. Yet they don't give a damn. And what bothers me, I don't know about other people, we are a member of the United Nations, yet we are not seeing the major players intercede into making Guyana a stable state. We are very, very volatile right now, but yet the ones who was very, very, what I'm going to say, forceful back in 2020, you don't see those players now playing. And if you go back into the history books, it will tell you, those players are not concerned about the country itself. They're concerned about what they gain from us. And the more we keep fighting at each other, the more the international players are going to walk away with our livelihood. And unfortunately, our citizens are not seeing that by going against each other, who are born in this country, we are hurting ourselves actually, because the players out there are just putting up a fake smile, and all our resources are taken away from us. So we can progress, and we are still in a primitive state. This game that the PPP is playing, eventually it will catch up with them. And you said something earlier. Now they're going to kick off 20,000 people off the list, but they've already put on 60,000. So in actuality, they're gaining 40,000, and our opposition team are not being vocal or being forceful about this operation.
Well, they came out the other day and spent a couple of minutes in the sun, and they left. They came out and spent a couple of minutes. They need to be out there every single day,
Mark,
by the hundreds. But before we move on, let's remind our folks that tomorrow from 9 p.m., the leader of the opposition, Compton Aubrey Norton, is going to be with us here on 107.1 FM. He will be my guest tomorrow evening. Compton Aubrey Norton. So getting back to the elections petition and the fact that the PPP and those vagabonds at Freedom House and so forth, they're no longer talking about the SOPs. They don't want the elections petitions to be heard. They now have a setup Elections Commission of Inquiry. God in heaven knows, waste of taxpayers' money. Mr. Caesar, take a bite of that, please.
Okay, Mark, there is no need for a COI at this time. No need whatsoever. The petitions are with the CCJ right now. There's no need for that. We have so many parents in Guyana that's struggling with their kids. Those funds could go towards helping them into the welfare system, instead of putting those funds into having a COI. We know that the petitions are going to be heard. When it comes to the petition, I must give the PPP some credit, man.
No, not here. We don't give no credit. No. We will, operator. Let's remove Mr. Caesar right away from the show. No credit.
Mark, hear me out.
No credit for them. But go ahead.
The PPP is a step ahead. Now they would know how many votes are in those 150 stuffed ballot boxes. And they're going to make sure that they have enough Venezuelan votes to match that. Okay? They're going to make sure that they have that. Okay? So Barra Jagdeo, man, you got to study the guy.
A scam is a scam, but continue.
Right.
No credit for the scams. No credit for the scams. The operator's watching you.
All right.
You're on a
If you
prompter.
don't study this guy, you'll always be behind the 8 ball. We need to get into class here. Okay? We need to study Mr. Barra Jagdeo, and I wish he's looking tonight because I'm able with him.
If you study Barra Jagdeo, one second, there's nothing, and let me say this to you, Mr. Caesar, from a political standpoint, there is nothing, absolutely nothing to study about Barra Jagdeo. There's nothing genius about Barra Jagdeo, right? What Barra Jagdeo and the PPP are doing is scampishness, and you don't go to school for scampishness. So there's nothing there to study about him. What the opposition need to do is to up their damn game, stop sleeping, get up, stop putting on their makeup, and
that's exactly my point.
They don't need to study.
That's exactly my point. That's my point. That's my point, Mark. The guy, we are allowing the guy to be a step in front of us. We can't allow that. We cannot allow that.
Don't be nervous. We won't kick you off the show. You're invited. I know what you're saying.
No, Mark, I gotta call it for what I gotta call it for what
I know what you're saying. We all know what you're saying, but the scam will always be a scam. You can't let our people study a scam. We already know the scam. We know what the scam is about. There's nothing about him.
Mark, while I'm at it, Mark, I just want to hit a little bit on cost of living. As a public accountant, every Guyanese, if we want to be aggressive, we can give out a stimulus to every Guyanese individual for at least $1 million. But, I said I'm going to be a little bit conservative. I did call out to the government to give each Guyanese adult at least $250,000. I mean, we're doing all this infrastructure. We have this whole part-time job thing that JR was talking about. Well, here, when it comes down to rent, Mark, there is no part-time rent. You can't go to your landlord and say, okay, here is half the month's rent. I want to work part-time this month.
Some folks do, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah, some folks do, but, they don't get away with it for too long. They find themselves eventually in front of the court. Right? We're talking about parents here, some of them being single and everything, having to, put three to 4 square meals on the table for their kids, send the kids to school, pay rent, pay utilities, plus travel to go to work and all these things. When we put all these things in perspective, there is no way that the salaries that public servants are making, could compensate for their expenses. What's coming into the household, the expenditures is more than what's actually their income. Their income is and their expenditure.
The PPP has been doing, giving out cash grants to their support base, ethnic lines, which is wrong. They've been using taxpayers' monies to do just that, while the other folks out in Linden, in Ituni, in Kokwani, and other parts of Guyana, Alnis and Philippi and other places, Cromarty, Blackbush Polder, they're being starved. And nobody's saying anything about that. And that is why we're up in arm with those who are in the opposition, who don't go out to those places. I don't know when was the last time I saw a team of opposition politicians in Blackbush Polder. I just don't know. The people in Blackbush Polder are punishing. The people in Blackbush Polder need help. The people in Ituni need help. The people in Kokwani need help. And unfortunately, these folks who are representing the opposition in Region 10, they seem to believe that Region 10 is only Linden. So they're going to run and talk about a road needs to be done in Linden, but they're not going to talk about developments or things that need to be done in Ituni. Maybe the roads, maybe not proper lights. They're not going to talk about these things. They're not going to highlight these things in Ituni and other parts of Region 10. And so they got to come out of their comfort zone, which is only Linden. They're going to talk about Poker Street, something up 1 mile and something up the valley or wherever. But they're not going into other areas. That is why we're saying they're playing sweet boy politics. It got to stop. And speaking of sweet boy politics, someone asked earlier about this guy. He is a member of parliament. How many of you guys watching this program know that this guy is actually a member of parliament? Devon Sears. He is a member of parliament. You don't see him doing anything. You don't see him agitating for the people. You don't see him standing up. He doesn't go out there. You don't see him in Kokwani. You don't see him in Ituni. You don't see him in Old England. You don't see him anywhere. So then the question is, why is he even a member of parliament? Why is he even being paid to represent the people that he is not representing? His interest is more on his side job, his other job, which is tourism. And that is all he's doing. If he's only concerned about that, somebody's asking, who is he? This guy is an AFC member of parliament for Linden. Region 10. Region 10 has 2 members of parliament. One is Sheikh Han Figueroa. One is member of parliament, the Honorable Figueroa, and the other one is this guy here. You don't see him doing anything. He's lazy. He should be kicked out. He should go. Let him do his tourism stuff. I don't know. Gosh, JR is biting his tongue. I don't know why. Caesar is laughing. I don't know why. Let's ask Crawford first. What's going on, Crawford? Is it fair that this guy who sits there and doesn't represent anyone, really? Is it fair?
Mark, my thing is any individual who has an MP position, and if you're not doing the people's work, you should be kicked out, recalled, whatever it is, in favor of someone who's going to represent the people's interests. Now, I know you're hot on this topic with the Linden Highway and all those stuff. It is on record. There was a MOU signed back in 2013 about the new Silica City. And your Linden counterparts could tell you on the going towards Linden on the left-hand side, 2 major areas have been cleared early this year. Linden by 2025 will have an influx of at least 3,000 votes, PPP votes. The Linden corridor, it will be designed to be controlled economically by PPP supporters. Linden connects to the airport to the whole East Coast corridor. It will be overhauled. That's the plan. That's the reason why the Linden Highway is a focus. The problem, we are not seeing an aggressive coalition effort.
Mr. Crawford, don't say that. The people are working. You know how it is to do research in the air conditioned office. Y'all don't know how hard those people work in their office. You know, they work hard. Or continue,
Mark.
Just let people. They work hard.
I have been in management for many, many years. One of the things I've learned that burned me early in my managemental career is do not have friends working for you. You will end up getting shafted. In the process, who you're working for, you will have to answer for the negative. This buddyism is going to cause a problem. The people are going to be underrepresented because when you're having a lack of effort, because it's your buddies, you're going to be very skeptical in being hard on them to get the people's work done. The people will be shortchanged. Opportunities will arise for wrongdoing, and the whole nation is going to suffer because of an inability to be a good leader. Sometimes it's best to have your enemies work for you, because once you're a focused individual, you will be able to open your mouth when something is not being done right. With that said, when you look around at the contracts that are being given out and the areas are being cleaned, guaranteed, if the game goes according to the way it is now, PPP will have 6,000 votes in Region 10. And that's by design, because they're going to move in Region 3 and Region 6 people into those areas. There's also big plans for Splashman area and all these other sorts of places. So these are information that if you really want to know, you can get it. We are not seeing an effort to stop this. This is going to cause a lot of problems later on in our managemental affairs, but a lot of people who don't want to listen will feel the poor people will be forced to accept whatever comes their way.
All
The
right.
main thoroughfares, you'll see a change in ownership of properties on the main drag. And many of those who feel that sporting or being arrogant, they're going to be living in the back streets. Trust me, if someone who goes out on Soosdijk Highway on the weekends, they will tell you the makeup is there. It's a dangerous trend. We are not paying attention.
And
Many of the coalition supporters are going to be driven into the backlands.
We definitely need to pay attention to what is being said. I'm a little more optimistic that there are thousands of coalition supporters who are angry. There are thousands of coalition supporters in Region 10. I do not buy into the notion that the PPP will gain any amount of votes. Of course, they are corrupting the process through GCOM, but the opposition needs to up its game. Those members of parliament need to get out and do their work. This guy on the screen, Devon Sears, he needs to decide whether he wants to be a tourism expert or he needs to be an MP to represent the people, because you cannot collect free money, 300,000+ every month, and you're not representing the people. What issue is Devon Sears fighting about? What issue is he putting forward? What is he doing for the people of Region 10? If I have my way, a lot of these MPs will be off the list and the new ones will come on who can prove that they're working for the people. Somebody made mention that when you have members of parliament who are selected and not elected, then they feel they can do whatever the heck they want. Maybe the time has come to start the people to start electing their own damn members of parliament. Then we wouldn't have these lazy guys at all. We wouldn't have them. Mr. Caesar, what's happening now? We're not seeing or hearing anything about the Sioux matter. We're not hearing anything much about the matter concerning this detective and so forth and so on. How does that make you feel, sir, that these matters are being pushed under the rug, so to speak?
Well, first and foremost, Mark, it's very troubling that Air Finale, I'm not going to say president because I'm not sure about that.
No, even if you say president, the operator is waiting too.
All right. Marcus, I'm catching on. You got to give me some credit.
You see, Crawford is laughing. He knows what the button is right here. But go ahead, Mr.
Yes. Yeah, it's troubling that Mr. Ali did not put protection in place for Mr. Bascom. You know, he is a public servant, you know, after all. Okay. He does have his complaints. He have lodged his complaints. His complaints, you know, what he alleges seems to run very, very deep within the government and very, very deep when it comes to friends of the government. So to me, this guy is being, you know, he's being prosecuted by his own people. Even the Guyana police force have turned against him. So, you know, this young man is left out there to fight for himself and his family, because if he's in danger, his family is also in danger. And you know, I mean, it paints a picture, and especially for Afro-Guyanese parents out there, I think you should be thinking twice about having your kids join the Guyana Police Force. I totally agree with that. You should think twice about having your children join the Guyana Police Force. There's the last thing.
Where would you recommend they send their kids?
I prefer to send my kids in the army if I had kids in Guyana, man.
No,
Now,
where do you prefer the people to send their kids?
The Guyana Police Force, Mark, do have some very, very, very good officers. But at the same time, they do have some very corrupt officers within that force.
Like the Guyana Defense Force too.
Well, I would say the Guyana Defense Force is the less of the two evils, though, Mark.
They get some corrupt army officers, you know, corrupt ones. Don't be fooled.
Well, we need to start posting their pictures on the show then.
Some of them who are part, some of them,
so we should start posting their pictures.
Some of them who are part of the Phantom Squad, some of them who are part of the current spy network in the installed PPP. So don't be fooled. They get some of those corrupt individuals in the Guyana Defense Force. Maybe some of them are watching.
Okay.
They know who they are.
Okay, that's fine with me. I'm good with that.
No, I'm not good with that at all. They shouldn't be
I
corrupt.
want them to watch. I want them to know me. I don't have a problem with them knowing me.
Yeah, well, nobody should have.
Right.
I'm just saying to you that there are army officers who are corrupt too.
Well, Mark, look, when all right, let's say your child is a public servant and work at office of the president. I want to use that as an example.
No, don't use use a
Because-
particular
Mark.
child as an example.
Right.
Go ahead.
Because at the office of the president, every time there's a new government, majority of those people get fired. Why would I want a job for 5 years? Why would I want a job for 5 years? You know, we need to put policies in place in Guyana, man. Guyana, we need to amend a lot of policies in Guyana. We need to amend a lot of laws in Guyana also.
We need to amend a lot of laws and implement positive and good policies that would
Correct.
affect the composition of Guyana, and so that
Correct.
we all can have a bright future. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that under this corrupt, installed, racist PPP regime.
And Mark, just to add, one of the that we should put in place is that whenever there is an election petition after an election, that petition should be heard expeditiously within the first 6 months. Because right now we have the wrong government sitting there. We have the wrong government sitting there governing the country. That's ridiculous.
Mr. Crawford,
See things like this.
I agree with you expeditiously. The court, next Wednesday, we will carry it live right here. The CCJ will render its decision. I'm almost certain that they are going to say that the acting Chief Justice was correct not to accept that petition 99, and that that's the end of the matter. That's just my opinion. Mr. Crawford, you wish to add anything else before we go to the closing remarks, sir?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Anything you wish to add?
Look, I'm feeling Mr. Caesar's hurt the way the Guyana Police Force behaves, and these behaviors are what's going to bring Guyana to its knees, and only a selective few are going to be able to do as they please and enjoy a proper life. And this is going to go right back to the ones, the regular Joe. They're the ones who are not joining hands together to make this place a better place. Why is it that it's so hard for us to stamp out corruption? We saw the turnaround in a few years under the coalition. And it goes to show you, once you have the head that is corrupt, the whole body follows suit. And that's what's happening to Guyana. And we are losing so much. We're having poorly paid public servants. We are having so much stress on single parents not able to take care of kids. When we are a country with so much natural resources, we are having monies from the oil. We have timber. But, we're seeing the focus going into hotels. We are not seeing the same energy going into hospitals to have proper staffing, to have proper medication, to have medication actually on the shelf at our health centers, or schooling. Look at the schools. Look at the presentation for our children. This is how we show our love for our children. Dirty environment. There is a school out in Linden where the headmistress have a really tough time. An office which is just like a hole in the wall. I forgot the name of the school. I got the complaint. But these are the things that our money should be going to. These are the things that the citizens should be making sure that the elected officials take care of. Security, education, and health. These are paramount to growing our country to a next level. And here we are asking foreign people who have spent 30, 40 years overseas to come back and invest in this country. If you don't have a proper medical system or medical facilities, or you don't have proper security, who is going to want to come and invest here? So I don't really understand where we want to go as a nation. We're seeing people who are happy that they are getting 40 hours of free money a month, while their neighbors are getting zero. And they think that is something nice. When you look back, you're seeing so much greed and so much bad-mindedness. Sometimes you want to know, why do you even stay in this society? And when you look at the ones who are being oppressed, as soon as a music set turns on, they find that little hideaway money and they go and they sport it out. Then the next day they're hungry. Stand your ground. Live. Right now it's a do or die situation. Live within your means. Cut back on some of the stuff until you see better treatment. But I just don't understand what our people want in life, or if they have given up and they want to return to economic and cultural, and I don't know what kind of slavery.
I
I'm
don't
just
think that
disgusted with the way they behave.
We're looking at the time, but I don't think that the people have given up at all. The people are the blood is boiling all over the country. The people are not giving
many,
up.
Mark. No, not many. I can tell you that.
Don't trust me in politics. Don't be fooled by the silence, And you see some of those guys who are running around collecting little handouts and so forth from the installed regime, and some of the flatfoot hustlers that are attempting to convince others to vote. Don't be fooled by that. Don't be fooled by that. In 2015, for the 23 years that the PPP were in office, they thought that they had things under control. They thought that they had money. They thought that they were able to buy people over, but they got a rude awakening in 2015. But look at the damage that they're doing to the country. Look at the level of corruption. Look at only a handful of people who are getting contracts. And when you return next time, we'll talk about not only racism, we'll talk about the sort of division along religious lines within the PPP. Lots of that's happening. We're not going to touch on that tonight. So with that, I am optimistic that these political vagabonds in the PPP will be voted out of office next elections. If it's held next year or even the following year, they will be out of office. Even their own supporters are upset with them. And that's my optimism. Your closing remarks, please, Mr. Caesar.
Yeah, Mark, thank you. For 23 years, the PPP have suppressed the Guyanese people with their racism and their murderous behavior. for 23 years. In 2015, the people would have gotten a break with the 5 years that the coalition had power. But in those 23 years, many of the Guyanese people have been conditioned. Guyana, it had totally changed. It was more of everything was a hustle, Mark. There was no like career. You couldn't really have a real nice, clean career in Guyana. Everything was a hustle. Okay. And then to add to that, we had this last election of 2020. Okay. I think that left a very bitter taste in the mouth of the opposition supporters. I think right now they're on a little low. They lack that confidence. Hence the reason I call on the opposition to get on the ground, reinvigorate and educate our people, and let's get ready for a campaign against this racist PPP syndicate. This is by no means, and I mean what I said, this is by no means a government. This is not a government. This is a terrorist organization. Okay? The PPP needs to stop. Their behavior needs to change. Their posture towards, especially Afro-Guyanese, need to change. And to all those PPP supporters out there, those Indo-Guyanese, I call on you guys to take action. Okay? Because these are the same people that shop, they buy from you, they support your businesses. Don't treat them like this. Treat them with some dignity. Guyana is for all of us. Yes, we own all of it. Barajag, you're right about that. We all own it. Not just you and your cronies. Mark, we definitely need policy changes in Guyana. There is no one party that should be voting and determining who come and do highways and who come and do school and who contracts is awarded to and all these things. We need to have a quorum. We need to have the opposition participating when it comes to these issues. Guyana is run this winner-take-all thing, Mark. It cannot continue. And again, I'm going to say, the best way for Guyana forward is to always have a coalition government where everyone have a seat at the table. No one party. This one party that's here in power is just totally taking advantage of people. Guyanese people, please open your eyes, man. Don't go to these palm courts and these stadium and watching president dance up and go on and all that stuff because he dance up and he go to bed happy, jolly with his family. Okay? While my people are struggling, while their kids going to bed hungry. That don't jive with me, Mark. That don't jive with me. And for the MPs out there, let's get to work, man. You have your side business, make a choice. Is either the side business or working for the people, one or the other. Mark, you could give any one of them my number. They can call me if they want to. I rest my case.
Serious business indeed. These guys need to get their act together. They need to get out there and work. Now is not time for handshakes. Now is not time for patting on the backs. It's not time for that at all. It's time to get out there and work and to get back the support base intact. The people are demoralized. And you cannot have a bunch of people who are demoralized, or people who are turned off, because if that is the case, then your political enemies will walk in and try to grab a couple of them because they know the weak point. They will grab a couple of them. They're going to go to Linden and throw some crumbs and grab a couple of them. And when you grab a couple of them, then you're going to see a couple of them skin in the teeth and they think it's a joke and so forth and so on, all for little crumbs. They got to stop that. That is why they've got to have a unified opposition. They got to have hardworking members of parliament in the opposition. We don't see these guys. We just see them talking sometimes a bunch of crap on social media, and they feel that is politics. Then they get vexed, they got in their shell, they suck the finger, and then they just don't talk to you. They don't say anything to anybody because they're more vexed than you. If that's what they're in politics for, just Get the hell out. Crawford, you want another minute to close off, man? Whatever you want to talk about.
Mark, I feel Mr. Caesar's feelings, but here's the thing: the PPP were able to behave in the manner that they do, all because of the Uncle Tom's mentality that many black folks have gone on to adapt. When you look back at all the dirty work, they're the ones who are taking some crumbs for, a cheap car and they with a gun in the waist, and that's it. They're the ones who have gone on to do all the dirty work while the master gets rich. And the fellow citizens who do not subscribe to the PPP are the ones who are being persecuted. A lot of people are going to get annoyed, but if you take a stock check, look at who's been doing the dirty work, and you'll see those are the ones who claiming that, oh, they join a party because of their choice. No, they are there as to hustle their way out of life, and in the same process, destroying the natural fabric of our society. The PPP would not be in power if people respect themselves and their heritage and their good way of life. We will go from now until tomorrow talking about winning an election. Look at it closely. The younger generation has been brought up in a hustle mentality. Don't tell me that money is not going to be a major player when it comes to vote. 15,000 people didn't vote in Region 4 in the last election. Money plays the game. You may disagree with me, but the people in there right now have a lot of money. And money will make people do strange things.
Lots of taxpayers' money. They get drugs money. They get money launderers. They get people who are smuggling gold money. They get lots of money. I wouldn't disagree with you, Mr. Crawford. I wouldn't.
People, the younger generation, does not understand or don't take loyalty the way the older generation does. Don't think that at election time people are going to switch back over. They're going to continue to take their money. Many people are saying under the coalition, run-ins was too hard to get. They prefer the PPP rule. And I'm saying, because of this mentality and the change,
they are the minority. Let me say this to you, Mr. Crawford, not to cut into your point. Those folks are the minority, the hustlers. And even the hustlers are feeling the squeeze. I have heard hustlers who say, well, you best be to stick with a coalition. So hustlers are oftentimes confused. We see some of them in Linden. We see some of them in Georgetown, Borbies. They have hustlers even in the private sector commission, right? So these hustlers will swing back and forth, right? A lot of hustlers are upset at the PPP because they're not getting to hustle as they thought or as they were promised that they are going to be allowed to hustle. So the hustlers are upset. People, no, you're done, Mr. Caesar, for the night. I see you raising your hand. Let me see if people think that we should give Mr. Caesar another 2 minutes or so. But go ahead, 1 second, Mr. Caesar. Crawford, are you finished? Go ahead, sir. 1 second, Mr. Caesar.
Mark,
ahead,
I disagree with you because do not look a gifted horse in his mouth. This is not the time to think that people are going to hustle and come back over. I am telling you, if you look, there is certain information that I don't want to bring out on the show, but there is a particular group that is being captured right now, and money is the major player. And the crumbs and a lot of folks have gone over, and that has been the strategy from 2020 August.
A lot of folks, Mr. Crawford, a lot of folks, my friend, have not gone over. The people who are now hanging their mouth, drinking little sour soup with the PPP, were never on the side of the court. Some of them probably didn't even vote. I understand where you're coming from. But there are thousands of PPP supporters who are upset with the PPP. Don't make it look as though the PPP is doing anything that is good, that is grabbing supporters of
I
the
have never said the
PPP.
PPP are doing anything good.
No,
Don't put
no,
words in my mouth. What I'm
no,
saying
I'm
to
not.
you is real. We are not being aggressive on the ground to keep our bases intact and educate
I
our
agree with you 100%.
supporters.
I agree with you.
We have an opportunity. There is two sectors of the PPP that we can have votes from, but we are not using the opportunities there to grow our support base.
True, true.
So some of the things I've said it numerous times to people, and I decide to remain quiet on that. If the coalition efforts do not want to, or leaders do not want to expand their efforts, what do you think going to happen at the next election?
I
You're
have
not
been,
seeing the
Crawford,
aggressiveness on the documentation of illegal immigrants.
I
Who is
have
going to
been,
potentially interfere with our elections?
I have been
And
there
who you think is getting hurt? Our Guyanese brothers and sisters, regardless if they're black or Indian, they are going to be shortchanged.
in assessing the situation. I see nothing different from pre-2015 and the hustlers. I've been there on the ground, walked on the ground. Even my son was saying, Ryan was saying the other day that my shoes, once he took a pair of shoes of mine and he wore it and all he heard it was singing. I see blues of sunshine or something like that. It means the shoes is laughing. You know, the soles are gone, holes at the bottom and so forth. And I know some of the hustlers, I know what they're like. And that is why I'm saying I am not at this point in time giving the PPP any credit for nothing at all. They're a bunch of vagabonds, hustlers, throw a little crumbs over. And these people that they think that they have they bought over, they don't. They haven't. And I'm not convinced that they have done so. I am not convinced, my friend. I will have you back on. We can talk about that. We can agree to disagree. I'm not saying I'm right. All I'm saying is that I am not convinced, Mr. Crawford. But sorry, Mr. Caesar, you had your hand up for a while now. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mark, one thing I want to say to the Guyanese people.
Sure, sir.
I want to ask of the people to just keep your eyes open, keep focused, stay focused. What's going to happen, Mark, is that we're going to approach elections in 2025. And this is the elevator pitch that Barry Jagdi on the PPP will use. I'm telling you this. They're going to promise the Guyanese people free university education, which they should be getting right now, this minute. They're going to offer up to the Guyanese people just before election that same stimulus that I was talking about for that 250,000. They deserve that. They should get that now, not at the time of election. Okay? That is what the PPP is going to do in order. And another thing, they're going to promise you guys house lots. They're going to promise you money to help you, build your home and all these things. These are things that the PPP should be doing right now. Don't be fooled, people. Don't be fooled. The money and everything that they're going to give you belongs to you. It is your wealth. They're just not giving it to you now. They're going to give it to you when we're right on the cusp of elections because they want you to vote PPP. Please, I'm asking the Guyanese people, please remove that veil that is covering your eyes from that 23 years that the PPP spent with their knees on your neck. Remove it. Go, Mark.
Thank you. Good point. I agree with you that is what the PPP will be doing because they are corrupt enough to think that they are smart. They think that they're smart, that they can brainwash the people. But the people are not that gullible. This is what people want, my friends, Mr. Crawford and Mr. Caesar, and those who are watching our program. This is what the people want, the majority of people. Let us not be swayed by the minority, a couple of hustlers, flatfoot hustlers, and so forth. Let us not be swayed by them. The majority of people in that country want safety. They want security. They want true democracy. They want a country that they can feel safe. They want a country where they can depend on true justice. They want a good and equitable justice system, a good and professional police force. We saw all of these things start to raise its head, heading in the right direction under a coalition government. Under the PPP government, all you get is slackness, you get corruption, you get chaos, you get a corrupt police force, you get lots of corrupt agencies. People don't want a Guyana like that, whether they are PPP supporters, they're coalition supporters, PNC, AFC supporters, WPA supporters. They don't want a country like that. What we have now is a bunch of gangsters ruling Guyana. And not because the minority are rushing to grab little crumbs and drink little soup mean that they are a representation of the majority of Guyana. People want peace and stability and a prosperous Guyana for the next 10 years, for the next 20 years, 30 years. That cannot happen under the PPP regime at all. No matter how much money they want to spend, it is not working. They have divided the country over the past 2 years since they've been there. They've divided the country across ethnic lines. They have divided the country across religious lines. They have divided the country at every level. And people, majority of Guyanese are not going to buy into that. The PPP will be going next elections, whenever it's held. So let them keep wasting their monies to some of the flat-foot hustlers. It's just not going to work. Gentlemen, I wish I can give Mr. Crawford another minute, but I will, since he has been smiling. I will. We go back years now since nursery school days. So I'll give him another minute. Another minute, Mr. Crawford.
For what? Are you trying to get the information of which groups are tugging at the mainframe?
Absolutely not. But
No,
we can get
Mark.
that. Go ahead.
Mark, what I'm saying to you, right? The younger generation, they're all into the hustle lifestyle and the irresponsible way of life. And money would always be a motivational tool. So I would not rest comfortable if I was the leader of the opposition. I would get my forces on the ground and I would mobilize. I will teach, or in this form, educate, and keep my fingers crossed that people would adhere to certain information that they have and stay on the side of the coalition, because as bad habits once adopted is very, very hard to break, and it's very hard to have a bad person turn good, and that's my concern. Yes, I would like to see the PP out of office tomorrow instead of waiting for an uncertain date. And I must say that the election will happen before March of 2024, not 2025. There are reasons for that. And we may see an election date, if given enough pressure, November of next year for general election. That is dependent upon the coalition stepping up their game, a couple notches, not just a notch. And we could force that issue. Regardless of what the court says, too much proof was there that the election was rigged. Too much. And the people of this country, if they want to enjoy the benefits of this country, we need to get this thing solved. There must be urgent election.
All right.
The petition, if they're not heard, there will be problems after that.
All right, Mr. Crawford.
I could see it.
We will have you guys back again sometime very soon. Always a pleasure to have you guys. Healthy discussion. We agree on some, we disagree on some, but the majority we have agreed on. And we all want a better Guyana. We all want the PPP regime to be removed almost expeditiously from office, of course, through the ballots, mind you. They should go because they are no good to the entire Guyanese population. Gentlemen, again, thank you for sparing us an hour, almost 2 hours of your time. God bless and see you guys soon. Hope you tune in to listen to the leader of the opposition tomorrow evening.
Good
I know
night.
you are. I know you will be glued to this air, Mr. Crawford. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well,
Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
I'm still on the same side of the street. Good night.
Thank you. We know you're still
All
in this. Thank you, gentlemen.
You know,
God-
that's one thing I could say. I will not be motivated by money to cross the street. I
Yeah.
can vouch for myself.
I got you.
I'm already old. What am I going to deal with money anyway?
Imagine, Crawford, the other day we were little boys. Now we're saying we're already old. Thank you for your time,
You know,
sir.
but just a point. You know, we've known each other over 50 years.
Not over 50 years, over 40 years.
No, it's over 50 years, my brother.
Because if we do the math,
That's exactly why I say 50.
We started off at nursery school. What year we started off at nursery school?
Mark, I knew you before you went to school.
Oh, shucks. We got to go. That means you knew me when we were little babies in the crib at Port Morant Hospital or Mackenzie Hospital. But God bless you, though. Thank you.
All right. Good night there.
Well, what is supposed to be our age? Oh, you want to say something? Your hands up again? Caesar?
No, I was just waving goodbye.
Oh, you were? Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Audience that I'm going to be in tomorrow.
All right, then. Thank you.
I'll call you guys tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.
Crawford and Caesar. Crawford and Caesar just give their opinions on a lot of things, indeed. And I notice, tomorrow evening we will have the leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition is going to be with us. He's going to be with us tomorrow. Lots of questions, and I want to see some questions coming from the audience as well. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to pose your questions. I might not be able to, or we might not be able to get to all of your questions, but please do. We want you guys to be part of this interactive session with the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Compton Norton. He will be my guest tomorrow, right here on 107.1 FM. Got lots of questions for him. He will be here tomorrow. But for now, let's keep hope alive. And don't run away with the idea that the PPP is so clever that they are grabbing opposition supporters. It's just not the truth at all. Grabbing some hustlers to do some hustling stuff. But that's not a representation of the majority of the opposition. Of course, the coalition people should be doing more. We need to see more active members of parliament. They need to be out there talking about issues. Instead, they're more looking at personalities, what they can gain, and who look nice and who ain't look nice, and who can score individual political points. It's not going to happen. It should be stopped almost immediately. But for now, my name is Mark Benchap. I'll be back tomorrow with the leader of the opposition right here on 107.1 FM. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful country. So long.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good good time. Neighbor, have some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Small days is still on their mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor, have some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bar. See for mama. And she one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing and dance, that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girls, second the boys. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor, have some little children. I'm gonna sing and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only fire down there. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. And now wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor, have some little children. I'm really singing and the dancers really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children. Yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. I'll make a